A not-so-shocking group of Marvel stars are shrieking at Disney and Bob Iger, telling shareholders and consumers that dark days are heading for the House of Mouse. It's all because of Jimmy Kimmel and the phony First Amendment Avengers who stayed silent through a decade of cancel culture, but suddenly are ready to leap into full force and go all Paul Revere on us once they fear a low-viewership show they know is about to be canceled. But exclusively in this video, get ready, because we're about to blow the lid off the idea that relatively anyone cares about Jimmy Kimmel going off air. It might be the talk of Tinseltown, but it's a giant yawn across the lawns of Main Street, USA.
Look, in the public interest, I don't think Kimmel has told an actual joke since Trump came down that escalator. I don't.
Hello, folks, and welcome back. It's a beautiful day to be alive and to be thriving here on the YouTubes. And it's all because of you. You're the gigawatts of all gigawatts. Click that like button, share, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Let us know, do you miss Jimmy yet? Do you miss him? Bob Iger wishes he could get rid of Jimmy. Let's talk about it. We're going to start in the Daily Beast. They've got a giant Marvel migraine on their hands at Disney. A giant Marvel migraine. And you know why? Because be careful who you sleep with, Disney. And in this case, you made your bed with crazies at the MCU. You brought in a bunch of absolute ideological nutbags, and now that they're there, they can't let go of the ideology, and they love it more than they love you, House of Mouse. From the Daily Beast, Paulina Rodriguez has this one. Marvel star tells fans to boycott Disney after Kimmel's suspension. And as we read this, I just want to remind you, don't go anywhere, because by the end of the video, you're going to know definitively, without question, nobody across America, relatively, cares that Jimmy Kimmel has been canceled. Nobody. They are putting their careers on the line for nothing. Tatiana Maslany, a.k.a. She-Hulk, is taking a stand against ABC after the network suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live. The She-Hulk star took to Instagram on Thursday to urge her followers to cancel their subscriptions to ABC-affiliated streaming services. The post, which features a selfie of Maslany, 39, in a motion capture suit, read simply, "Cancel your Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN subscriptions." I'm sure she'll come back to Disney, don't you think so? I think this also is at least... This has got to be proof positive. She has not been invited back to Avengers. She's not going to be in Doomsday. Folks, she is a woman scorned by Bob and Kev. Bob and Kevin, they have left her, and she is unhappy about it. Mark Ruffalo is, he's right there like a woman scorned as well. This is out of Variety by Jack Dunn. Mark Ruffalo says Disney stock will go down a lot if ABC cancels Jimmy Kimmel Live. They don't want to be the ones that broke America. These people are so dramatic. Jimmy Kimmel going off air, that's going to break America. Really? Really? Jimmy Kimmel, that has less viewership in the demo than hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube channels daily. That's going to be what breaks America. Of course, not national tragedies of murder. Longtime Marvel star Mark Ruffalo, the Gruffalo, is sharing his thoughts on ABC pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air. In a post to Threads, which is, at least this time, we can say, barely above blue sky, Ruffalo reshared a report claiming Disney stock dropped 7% after ABC preempted Jimmy Kimmel Live and wrote, "It's going to go down a lot further if they cancel his show. Disney does not want to be the ones that broke America." And then it says, the headline on the report that Ruffalo shared is incorrect. Now, how would you like to be Disney? How would you like to be Disney? And Mark Ruffalo is sharing false info that could damage what your shareholders do. That's got to break a contract somewhere. Wouldn't you think so? You got a Marvel star sharing fake news that's giving your shareholders the blues and making them run for cover. What's the reality? Disney is down over the past 5 days, but that's not unusual for Disney. Disney, if you've been owning Disney for about a decade, you're pretty much where you were a decade ago. Meanwhile, the stock market is up, orders of magnitude. So Disney in the past 5 days, they're down 2.18%. Are they down? Sure. Are they down, 7%? No, of course not. And I'm not here to defend Disney on that, but I'm here to tell you, we believe in the truth with a capital T. And by the way, stockholders, shareholders don't care about Kimmel. This is a Sunset Boulevard issue. This is a Hollywood Hills problem. This is not something that regular Americans are concerned about. Now, can you find some libs, on your local college campus discussing it in the AM? Sure you can. Sure you can. But is Farmer Joe worried about it? No. Is the lady at the boutique worried about it? No. Is Ginny at the hair salon, is she worried about it? No. They don't care about Jimmy Kimmel. Come on. Nobody watched the show. Nobody was watching Jimmy Kimmel. Colbert got canceled for bad ratings. Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are worse. He's dropped like 70% of his ratings in 10 years. Come on, people. Nobody cares about this. All right, let's go now. And I'm going to show you in just a few how bad this is. I've got the big one, okay? And Marvin Montanaro at That Park Place has helped me do it. We've got the big one. We are going to open the package in just a minute and show you nobody cares. But here is the take that CNBC has on the Jimmy Kimmel situation. It's going to make some of you angry as we play it. It makes me angry, this one guy. But I promise I'll pause it, and there's a reason we're going to watch this, because by the end, we get to sanity. Here we go.
All right, Disney is still in the spotlight with the Trump administration. The entertainment giant's decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel off of the air after comments he made about Charlie Kirk, sparking threats from the FCC and raising debate over free speech. Joining us right now with more on the pressure facing Disney right now is James Stewart. He is New York Times business columnist, also a CNBC contributor. And Jim, there are so many different questions to ask surrounding this. I guess I'd ask, first of all, what position do you think Bob Iger's in today?
Well, look, it's not a position anybody would want to be in. He has the incredibly difficult choice of standing up on behalf of freedom of speech, the First Amendment, the rights of him to choose who should be on the network.
Did he do that with Gina Carano? No. Did they call for him to be courageous and stand up against cancel culture when he did it to Gina Carano? No. They applauded him. Did they do it with Roseanne Barr? Did they come to the defense of comedians everywhere and say, you know what? The thing she said about Valerie Jarrett is awful, but she's a comedian and comedians can say awful things, and maybe she made a mistake and we should accept the authenticity of her apology. No. They didn't just call for blood. They were like, you're done. You'll never work in this town again. Roseanne had better ratings. Roseanne's ratings were sky high compared to Jimmy Kimmel. Roseanne's ratings were enormous compared to Jimmy Kimmel. Gina Carano on The Mandalorian, the ratings were astronomically higher than Jimmy Kimmel. But it's about free speech, ladies and gentlemen.
And the pressure that he's getting, the business pressure he's getting from the affiliate network immediately, and more broadly from the Trump administration, the FCC, where he is a regulated entity and he has to deal with them for a host of issues. And so, he doesn't want a target on his back. I can understand why he did what he did from a shareholder perspective, because that is his fiduciary obligation.
There's also, well, let's talk about that for a minute, folks. Why would he have a fiduciary responsibility to yank Jimmy off the air if the affiliates are revolting? Because they're repulsed by what Jimmy said. What did Jimmy say? Well, Jimmy came out, made a false claim that at the time was obviously false, and now we know that Jimmy Kimmel says he has a team of fact checkers that should have caught this. And he came out and he said basically it was a Charlie Kirk supporter that killed Charlie Kirk, which is to say, hey, Charlie, it's your fault. You raised these demons. And the truth was the opposite of that, of course. And then when it came time for Jimmy Kimmel to say, oh, oopsie, I got that wrong in the face of a national tragedy, something that hasn't happened since the days of MLK. We haven't had someone who is a political pundit be taken out in full-blown public recorded view since MLK. Instead of coming out and say, you know what, I got that one wrong and I apologize, Jimmy told the Disney peeps, I'm going to double down and I will refuse to apologize. I'm going, like, you've called me, hey, Dana Walden, head of Disney TV, you're besties with Kamala Harris. Even you are more reasonable than I, for I refuse to go out there and apologize. I am going to attack even harder. Thus, the fiduciary responsibility at Bob Iger's feet is the affiliates said, no way, Jose, he's not going to be on our airwaves because the people in our cities and towns that watch us, they're done. They will remove the channel from the list on their TVs if such a function exists.
I guess the question comes down to what you think he would have done without any pressure coming from the FCC.
I mean, that is a good question. We haven't heard from Iger. He hasn't really made a statement about his thinking process on this. But I don't really, knowing Iger, I've known him for decades, both from, his support for the First Amendment and his overall political views.
Oh, yeah, this guy knows him from his political views. You know what that means? They're political buddies. And he's saying, well, Bob Iger is supporting the First Amendment. Oh, yeah, Bob's a big champion of the First Amendment. You all know that, right? Bob, big First Amendment guy. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Tell me again now, how many conservatives has Jimmy Kimmel had on his show? 0? Yeah, we're not going to. Sorry, Liz, we're not counting you. How many people of a conservative nature have been on The View? Maybe John Letterman, right? Maybe we'll count John Letterman, the Democratic senator from Pennsylvania. That's as close as you can get on The View. Yeah, Bob Iger's a big fan of free speech. Roseanne and Gina would like to have a talk with Bob.
I don't think he would have suspended Kimmel. I mean, I do find it interesting that if you look closely at what Kimmel said on the face of it, it may have been ill-advised, not an appropriate subject for certainly a comedian to be addressing in that format, but it is not on its face false.
That's a lie, and it's an evil lie. This man is on TV, and in some situations, what you could do is you could say, well, he just doesn't know. He's just not researched it well enough. And if he's your barber and he does this, 1, get a different barber, but 2, you assume he doesn't follow the news closely enough. But his job is to commentate on this. Everyone knew by the time that Jimmy Kimmel made the joke in quotes, by the time Jimmy Kimmel did that, everyone knew that it was a lie. Everyone knew. The only way you could be confused is if you lived on Blue Sky and you read some of these Substacks that are absolutely vitriolically incorrect and purposefully perhaps so. That's the only way. And Jimmy Kimmel went out there and lied. And Megyn Kelly did such a marvelous job of breaking this down. How did you know that the person who killed Charlie Kirk was not a Charlie Kirk fan? Well, because he killed Charlie Kirk. Boy, that's a difficult one, right? That's difficult.
As some people have said, it's maybe ambiguous, and some people interpreted it in a way that turned out to be false. But remember, when Kimmel made the statement, we didn't really know anything. Nobody really knew anything about the motives of the guy
false
who assassinated Kirk. So I don't think on the face of it that Iger would have suspended it. I'm sure that, like many people, it seemed, like this thing was going to blow over until it became, went viral, on social media.
In other words, Jimmy Kimmel came out and spat on the as of yet unfilled grave of Charlie Kirk. Jimmy Kimmel came out and spat upon it, metaphorically. And because they didn't think that it was going to really go viral, why you got to do anything about it, right? If only 100,000 people, I mean, gosh, it's Jimmy Kimmel. He's got 100,000 people watching at night. Nobody's going to see this. And what actually made them do the right thing is that a lot of people shared it in disgust. People across America and the world couldn't believe the audacity of Jimmy Kimmel, the abhorrent behavior of Jimmy Kimmel, subhuman. And that is what has forced Disney's hand to do the right thing. Now they're trying not to do the right thing, but that's it, folks. Listen, you can still, in the halls of Disney, over in Burbank, you can still metaphorically spit upon those you disagree with politically, and you're just fine so long as it doesn't go viral. That's the message from the man.
So I don't think it would have been such a big deal. I mean, maybe he might have said something like, this is a touchy subject we should ease off a little on, but I doubt it. I don't think he ever would have gotten involved on that level.
There are questions, though. I mean, again, it went viral once a lot of people saw it and picked up on this. There are questions about what you would do facing the advertiser backlash. I mean, that to me is the more interesting part of this. What do you...
Now, when she asks about advertiser backlash, can I translate that for you? Here's what that really means. Consumers. Because who are the advertisers beholden to? Well, the advertisers are trying to sell stuff. And if the advertisers say, don't put our stuff on that show, we cannot be associated in any way with that man any longer. Why would they say that? Because Americans have such a disgust for Jimmy Kimmel. His name is a stench in their nostrils now. It is to such a degree that the advertisers say, don't put our products with him. And then the affiliates say, we can't be associated with, we can't play him. And what does it all come back to? You. It comes back to the consumer. It comes back to Americans. So they speak in a euphemism. But what they're actually saying is society turned against Jimmy Kimmel.
You do without the pressure from the FCC, without the pressure from the president. I don't think anybody likes the pressure coming from the president to say you can't do these things. But it is a corporation's decision as to whether they want to go ahead. It's not protected. You don't get free speech at your place of employment. They can decide to no longer do business with you.
His ratings have been plummeting, too. I mean, I think they're down.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, you said, oh, gosh, Pro, are you just going to take him down? You're just going to be a wrecking ball to this poor moron the whole time? No, we're playing it because in comes the man at CNBC. And why is CNBC going to play this, I think, fairly? Well, because they're a cable news network, right? Business news, but they're news. And they are no longer going to have the protection of NBC any longer, right? Remember that what all's going on with cable news? They got to start covering things accurately. And he's about to come in and just drop he's about to lay it out. Here we go.
Almost 50% since the beginning of this year. Jim?
Well,
does he watch our stuff? Sir, do you watch our stuff? We love you. We appreciate you. What a haymaker.
A very important point. This is a commercial entity. Iger's ultimate goal is to make money for the shareholders, to boost the ratings. And one of the checks for the major networks has always been, in terms of what they put on the air, that they are trying to achieve the highest ratings possible. They're trying to make money. And so it's never really been an issue. They've never...
Hold on a second. If Jimmy Kimmel came out and did a funny show at the end of the night and didn't aim for about 20 to 30% of the population in terms of like who's going to watch him, his ratings would at least be double. So don't come to me and tell me they're trying to get the highest ratings possible. You could put Sydney Sweeney out there and just have her talk to people and they would get double the ratings. This is not about ratings. Ratings? Really? I feel like Allen Iverson talking about practice. We talking about ratings? This show's been in it's got a 70 to 80% decline over the last 10 years. It's got a 50% decline in 1 year. It's a political apparatus. That's what it is.
Put extreme alienating views on their news shows because they are trying to attract a very large audience. That would make no business sense.
The View. This man's so far to the left and so far into his Beltway coastal elite bubble, he doesn't understand that Disney is way out there with their new stuff. If you think The View is down the middle, you have lost the entire narrative across the country. You don't understand the world in which you live.
Whatsoever. But I do think it's a separate issue here. Would they have wanted to get rid of Kimmel? I mean, there's been some talk, because we know what was going on, or at least CBS has claimed to tell us that Colbert was losing so much money. A lot of people have inferred that Kimmel must be losing money as well. I don't know the specifics of the finances of that show. It's possible. But it's clear that it was the pressure, I think, from the affiliate groups, maybe as well from some advertisers.
Right. You know, the affiliates and the FCC, but he did have, the FCC has teeth, because if Nexstar and all those affiliates said, look, in the public interest, I don't think Kimmel has told an actual joke since Trump came down that escalator. I don't.
Now, this is an interesting argument, and I need to break this down for you. The argument here is that Jimmy Kimmel is not actually late night comedy TV. He's not actually a funny man. He's actually a news program, and he's a skewed news program. Now, this is an interesting argument. It's not one that I don't know if I can go there, but it's so interesting because Disney does label The View as news, and they do that for a very particular advantage that I don't want to get into right now, even though we know that The View really isn't news. It's really left-wing propaganda for women. It really is. It's literally, there's not a single person on that panel that has any inkling of conservatism. Now, Jimmy Kimmel is supposed to be late-night comedy. Disney doesn't label him as news. He's not under the news umbrella. Does the Fairness Doctrine take effect, which is to say that because you're network TV and because the United States has granted you, that means the citizens, we have granted Disney access to a limited resource that is the waves in the air that they can broadcast via, or broadcast to all the homes across the country. The Fairness Doctrine then takes effect because there's a responsibility when you're given this finite resource. So does the Fairness Doctrine apply to Jimmy Kimmel? Let's listen in. This one actually stretches me a little bit.
I think he's told an actual joke. And he has, if you look at his guests, it is a parade of Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Adam Schiff and one after, not a single conservative guest. Now, how is that in the public interest of all those Nexstar? If you're going to push it, if you're going to, as the FCC, if you're going to push it, how do affiliates look at that and say, why isn't this in the best interest?
I love this man. He takes his pen and drops it. You know why he drops his pen like that? Let's go back 10 seconds. You know why he drops his pen like that? It's like dropping the gavel. He knows. He's got him. He's got him. I am being persuaded, folks. I am being persuaded. Not even your friendly neighborhood pro would have dared to go so far as to say that Jimmy Kimmel might be labeled a news program by the FCC, but darn it, he's persuasive.
Public interest of all those Nexstar, if you're going to push it, if you're going to, as the FCC, if you're going to push it, how do affiliates look at that and say, why isn't this in the best interest of all my people in Oklahoma City?
Well, it's certainly within the rights of the affiliates to raise questions about the content of the programming and hash that out with Disney and express their concerns. On the other hand, the public interest has traditionally been defined as allowing a broadcaster to exercise their First Amendment rights within the limits of the law.
And that's a bunch of nonsense, because if that was the case, then there is no Fairness Doctrine. If that's the case, then it has no meaning. If it's literally just a redundant restatement of the First Amendment, it has no meaning.
It is not that it has been, admittedly, there was for a time the Fairness Doctrine, where if they had a political, advocating one side of a political issue, then they were required.
But the affiliates would have been.
And that still exists. It's still there. That's why SNL, NBC gave Kamala Harris runtime with SNL last election season, and guess what? NBC had to then give Trump some kind of opportunity.
Irate. The affiliates are probably sick and tired. I think this gave Iger cover to do something he's probably wanted to do for a while. That's what I think.
All right, we'll pause it there, folks. I love it. Do I think that Bob Iger relishes the idea that he's been looking forward to getting rid of Jimmy Kimmel? Not necessarily. I think Bob Iger likes people who fall in line with what he's saying. In fact, I think that he despises anyone inside his company who doesn't do that, and they are short on time remaining at the House of Mouse if they try to buck against Bob. But did he want Jimmy Kimmel to go? I say no, and the reason for that is because Bob Iger and his wife are so highly entrenched in the politics of the left and of Hollywood, I digress, that I guess I can't fathom a world in which they wanted Jimmy to be out of there. What I think probably is happening right now is Bob Iger is faced with a reality. They literally can't put him back out there until the affiliates agree to put him on TV. And this is actually getting worse. Like, after the memorial service, you going to put Jimmy Kimmel out there to double down against Erica Kirk and what we saw? You going to let him go after her? You going to do that? No. And Bob Iger and Disney, they might be so lousy they think they can do that. I'm sorry. The affiliates who answer to their actual American viewers are going to say, no, capital N-O. Folks, we go to thatparkplace.com. I promised you something, and I plan to deliver. The proof positivo. That's Espanol for you. I feel like Peggy Hill. Y si yo hablo español, ladies and gentlemen, so I do speak it. It's just fun. The proof positive for you that nobody cares about Jimmy. Out of thatparkplace.com, the Mandalorian Grogu trailer releases 3 days late due to Jim Kimmel controversy with no sign of progressive backlash. Let me show it to you. Disney and Lucasfilm have released the first trailer for the Mandalorian Grogu Star Wars movie. The trailer was reportedly supposed to come out on Friday. But current events surrounding the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel made the Mouse House hesitate. Disney's decision to hold back the Mandalorian Grogu trailer last week wasn't random. According to multiple reports, the trailer was supposed to premiere on Friday, but the studio quietly hit pause as the fallout from Jimmy Kimmel's suspension grew louder. So in other words, the trailer had to be backed up because of Jimmy Kimmel. So what happened? You got Tatiana Maslany calling for, boycotting. You got Mark Ruffalo saying the stock's diving down with false headlines. Maybe Mark Hamill will join in soon. And in fact, I think based on how Mark Hamill responds to Disney, we'll have a clue of whether or not he's actually in the movie. Hint, hint, Mark's been silent. The Mandalorian Grogu, 34,000 likes, 612 dislikes. That's where it is right now. And let me see if I've got this, ladies and gentlemen. Do I have the Mandalorian Grogu video trailer to pull up for you? I do not. Okay, we'll stay with that Park Place. Here's what I can tell you. The trailer right now has 34,000 likes, 612 dislikes, and okay, right? Actually, let me pull this up. Let me get the Mandalorian trailer. Let me get this for you guys so we can all see it. Here we go. Mandalorian Grogu trailer. We're going to go over here. All right. We're going to pause it. We can't play it. Can't play it. All right. It's at 54,000, 5,500 dislikes. 54,000 likes, 5,500 dislikes. And if you scroll down here, nobody's talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Nobody's talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Okay? Now, here's what you need to know, though. And again, nobody's talking about Jimmy Kimmel. It has no effect. Zero effect. Nobody in mainstream America is actually talking about Jimmy Kimmel on this trailer. Here's the deal. What's really going on with Disney? Here's what you need to know. Look at the views. 425,000 views. Okay. Now, for the fun of it, let's just say that behind the scenes it's triple that. Okay? Let's say it's 1.5 million views. Somewhere around there. I know that's not exactly triple. We're going to give even more. So 1.5 million views for the Mandalorian Grogu. Okay? So the question becomes, they don't care about Jimmy Kimmel, but is what Tatiana Maslany and Mark Ruffalo want, is that actually paying off for them? And the answer is it does appear that they're losing badly. And why? Well, folks, let me give you some numbers that you need to know. If the Mandalorian Grogu has, 1.5 million views in its first hours, right? That's what you see right there, 1.5 million views. Well, if we triple it, because we assume that what's actually public and private is different. YouTube doesn't publicly, in the first hours, it doesn't keep up with what's actually going on behind the scenes. So it probably is about 1.5 million views. What about the top most viewed trailers of all time? Well, Deadpool and Wolverine. Do you know how many views its main trailer picked up within 24 hours? 365 million. Mandalorian Grogu is probably generously at 1.5 million within 3 hours. I don't think it's going to get to 365 million views, which is how many Deadpool and Wolverine had. Spider-Man No Way Home, first 24 hours, 355. million views. Avengers Infinity War, 264 million views, first 24 hours. Superman from Warner Brothers, the most recent one, 250 million views, first 24 hours. The Lion King, 224 million views, first 24 hours. Fantastic Four, First Steps, 202 million views, first 24 hours. And what do we have for The Mandalorian Grogu? 1.5 million, probably in the first 3 hours. You think it's going to get up to those numbers? No. And what does that mean? Because nobody's doing this for Jimmy. No comments in there for Jimmy. Nobody's coming to save the day for Jimmy. You know what it means? Apathy. That's what it means, apathy. Audiences are tired of Disney. Audiences have become bored with the drama of Disney. They're bored of Bob. And the folks that are left talking about Jimmy Kimmel so much, if they're actually interested in Jimmy Kimmel, as opposed to us, we're very interested in the media meltdown over Jimmy. If they're actually out there trying to save Jimmy, the lesson they have not yet learned is the legacy, going extinct dinosaur media already had the meteor hit, and they just haven't jumped ship yet. Welcome again, folks, to the new media. We're happy you're here. All right, folks, that is the video for this afternoon. Longer than usual, but we wanted to go through it all. Happy that you've made your way all the way to this point. If so, folks, go from being a passive to an active viewer. Click that like button, share, subscribe. Click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, until the next time, we have the honor, the privilege, the joy, and the responsibility of spending time together. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Okay, these colors just seem to conflict with your natural tone.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Obviously, we're getting Jose ready to throw his name in the hat to be the next CEO of Disney.
That's ridiculous. He's not qualified for that kind of role.
Well, of course he is. He's a wonderful candidate for a corporate puppet.
What on earth is happening?
He's literally a foreign agent by all accounts. You think honoring boundaries is a thing? No! This is Disney! He's got diversity points, green skin, and a wig. And most importantly, he likes to destroy things and blow them up, whether they're from the past or from now. He shows no discrimination.
Okay, you know what? I really can't argue with any of that. So,
Right?
you two have fun. I'm gonna go read thatparkplace.com and watch WDW
Okay,
Pro.
bye. Okay, Jose, say magical experiences.
I already hate this.